What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Aether Revolt deck update. Hope you're excited. Yeah, this is I do this 4 times a year for all the major sets that get released. And if you're new to my channel, what I do is I go through and I tell you what new cards are going into my commander decks that I've already established. And once again, if you're new to the channel, this is a great way for you to kind of find out about what decks that I play and a little bit more about them. But let's jump into the sponsors first. So this is brought to you by MTGOtraders.com. If you need any of the new Aether Revolt, head over there. Awesome service. And also brought to you by EDHREC.com. Let's say you want to build some of the new commanders. Head on over there. It's an awesome deck building utility. I use it for a lot of my commander decks, and I'm so thankful to have it. Awesome website. It's just really cool, man. Really good website. All right, let's jump into it. So, the first deck that we have is Arkham Bomb Squad. So, we have Weir of Invention going in there. It has Improvise. Search your library for an artifact card with a converted mana cost X or less. Put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Awesome card. Instant speed. You're going to be able to, search up any type of artifact that you need. We have that ability with Arkham, but let's say we need to grab something just in response to them targeting Arkham. I don't know. It's just a good card for an artifact deck. We're also running Paradox Engine, so whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control, and that's going to allow us. We can search it up with. First of all, it's an artifact. We can search it up with Arkham, and then at the same time, we can just simply cast like a Brainstorm or something to get an extra Arkham activation, or make a few more extra tokens off our Mirror Turbine. If you're not familiar with the Arkham Bomb Squad, it's a little bit of a troll deck. Our win condition is Armageddon Clock with 3 or 4 triggers on there, and then a Mirror Universe being activated during our upkeep. So, yeah, definitely a fun deck, but this Paradox Engine is going to allow us to get into a few more Arkham activations and make a few more mirrors off of the Mirror Turbine, because that's one of the most reliable way to kind of get some mirrors up and running. We're also running Mechanized Production because, hey, why not? Enchant artifact you control at the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of it. So if you want to get that, if we want to get that Armageddon Clock trigger, if we want to get the Armageddon Clock win with Mechanized Production, we can certainly go for that. So, I wouldn't mind doing that. That'd be kind of fun. We're also running Efficient Construction. This is just a really good utility spell. Whenever we cast an artifact spell, which we're running a lot of mirrors in there, we're running a lot of this zero-costed artifact creatures. We can turn those into colorless Thopter artifact creatures, and which will be just fodder for Arkham. So, really good. I think Arkham, other than DePaula, got the most updates from this set. So, on to the next one. We have Brison WrestleMania. Gain control of target. We have Carry Zev's Expertise. Gain control of target creature or vehicle until end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste. Then, you may cast a card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy with this card. I think it replaced one of the gain control spells that we had in there, just because it has the upside. So we could get into spots where we cast Carry Zev and then get to cast Boros Charm or something from our hand after we gain control. So it's just in there strictly for value, taking advantage of replacing one of our gain control spells. On to the next one, we have Church of Athreos. We have Hidden Stockpile going in here. So it has Revolt. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Then for one colorless mana, sacrifice the creature and scry 1. Really good card. This is a great card for Church of Athreos. It's going to allow us to get Devotion, help us go towards Devotion for Athreos. At the same time, if you're not familiar with the Church of Athreos, what we're doing is we're getting a lot of clerics out there. We're doing a lot of sacrificing to draw a bunch of cards of those creatures and stuff like Scourge Deck High Priest. So we're always turning our creatures over, and also we're hoping to get into spots where we can cast like a Living Death or something to bring everybody back out of the graveyard. So as far as enabling Revolt for Hidden Stockpile, it's not that crazy. And it's also going to allow us to, we're running fetch lands in there too, so just getting those 1/1 colorless servo tokens is good to have. And also we can start digging with that Scry right there, that one sacrifice a creature scry one. That's pretty good. It's always nice to have a little bit of an extra sack outlet, even though it costs 1 mana. You can never have enough sack outlets. Never enough sack outlets in the Church of Athreos. So yeah, good card, and definitely really excited to test it out. Next, onto Damia, we have Disallow. This is just strictly, I think it's taking the place of not Plasma Capture, but the and it's escaping. The card is escaping me right now, but it's I think Void Slime. Yeah, where it's green and double blue, or maybe the other way around. But yeah, basically just functionally replaced it. It costs 1 colorless and 2 blue. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. So nothing too crazy there, just a really good solid counter spell. Yeah, and then if you run any type of blue commander decks, or have blue in any of your commander decks you like to play, Disallowance, a really good utility card for any of your blue commanders, or at least any commanders that have blue in it. So Thumbs up on that one. Next one we have Depala. So I have not played Depala in a long time, and one of the reasons for me not playing Depala was because it was so hard to get a good video out of her. What would end up happening is I'd record 2 or 3 videos, and then like I would finally end up with one video where I lost, but it was kind of good. And so with this set, they released a few more cards in Aether Revolt that I feel will hopefully give Depala a little bit of a boost, and I'm going to try re-recording with her. Yeah, as far as recording decks on my channel, if I don't have good luck getting a good video out of a commander, what I tend to do is they get put on the back burner. But this year, I'm really going to try and hammer out a release schedule for these commander decks. I'm adding 2 commander decks. Like each set that gets released, I do 2 commanders from those sets. And you know, if you just simply by the math alone, I'm building at least 10 new commander decks a year between the sets and the summer commander release product, and that's not including me, you know, doing some of the old commanders I haven't touched. So I'm slowly adding more and more commander decks. So I really need to. I'm making an effort to make sure I take some of those decks that I haven't played in a while and put them back in the spotlight. And so I'm gonna try and get a good Depala video out for y'all. But going in there, we have Renegade Willsmith. It costs 3. Whenever it becomes tapped, target creature can't block this turn. I feel it's gonna be really good for the deck. It's going to allow us to maybe get in some nice vehicles, or if one of our vehicles has double strike, we can tap it down, crew up the creature, and then make something not be able to block. We're also running Peace Walker Colossus. So for 1 colorless and white, another target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Then you can crew it for 4. This is exactly what the deck needed, having that little mana sink ability to activate all these different vehicles that we have. As soon as I saw that was spoiled, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board with Depala. So, and you know, I could go different ways with Depala, but one of the things I want to do is like when I build certain commander decks, you know, Depala really fits well with vehicles and dwarfs and stuff like that. So I really want to take advantage of that. You know, we could go red white, just aggro, fun stuff, but I want to make the vehicles work. I'm not trying to bust it open or make it work for Commander, but I just want to make a functioning Depala vehicle deck, so I'm excited to hit the recording block with them. We're also running Untethered Express, so it has trample, and then whenever it attacks, put a +1 counter on it. This is really good because we're running a lot of mana rocks in this deck. It's a 4/4, and it only has crew of 1, so we're going to be able to get that bonus from Depala. Then whenever it attacks, you're going to get a +1 counter on it. So I really do feel like these changes will kind of help it out. We're also running SRAM. I think that's how you say it. SRAM Senior. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. So awesome purpose for the deck. He has a 2/2 power, so we can crew vehicles with him. We're casting a lot of vehicles. We're casting, I don't know if we have too much equipment in there or auras, but mainly we're in here to casting a lot of vehicles, so we'll be able to kind of cash those in for card draws and get a nice little bonus from Depala over there. We're also running Aether Sphere Harvester, so that's flying. Whenever it enters the battlefield, get 2 energy tokens, then pay energy, or not tokens, but 2 energy. Pay energy. Aether Sphere Harvester gains lifelink until end of turn. Then you can crew it up for 1. Also, flying most of the time we're getting in for a 4/6, and that lifelink, you know, it's we don't really have too much. We don't have any other really mana produce, or we don't have any other ways to produce energy. But simply having that 2 energy, again, that lifelink is going to be really nice for the deck. We're also running Siege Modification. Enchant creature or vehicle as long as Enchanted Permanent is a vehicle, it's a creature in addition to its other types. Enchanted creature gets +3 and has first strike. So yeah, this is crewed up on put it on one of the Aether Sphere Harvester. I don't know, like there's just sometimes in Magic where you step back for a second, really think about what you're doing, and just putting a Siege modification on this Aether Sphere Harvester, or if we put the Siege modification on this Untethered Express. I don't know, man. I just love that. Just the flavor of this card is really cool to me. So yeah, we got it in there, and you can put a creature or vehicle, so that's really nice. We're also running Daredevil Dragster. So at the end of combat, if Daredevil Dragster attacked or blocked this combat, put a velocity counter on it. Then if it has 2 or more velocity counters on it, sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. So yeah, this is kind of a little bit of a way for us to get a vehicle down, maybe get in some quick damage, and then kind of cash it in for some card draw. Because that's one of the major setbacks with my Depala deck, at least, is that you're trying to run enough people to crew your vehicles. You're running a nice spread of vehicles too. So what happens is you end up cutting the basic building blocks of certain commander decks, like card draw and removal, just because I'm trying to jam pack as much stuff in there. You know, I could make a little bit of a lesser deck, but if we're truly going dwarfs and we're truly going vehicles, Daredevil Dragster is a good way for us to kind of get a little bit of card draw off that velocity counter. But yeah, I'm going to get more DePaul up and running. Next is Gitrog Hypnotoad. Permanents, and if you're not familiar with Gitrog Hypnotoad, this is Gitrog Enchantress Voltron. Basically, we're looking to get on Gitrog and put in as many enchantments as we can on Gitrog. A really fun commander deck to play. And we're also running, we're going to be putting Heroic Intervention in there. So permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Now, the good thing about this is it's a good little hexproof for Gitrog, but at the same time, let's say our opponent cast, I can't remember the name of the card, but destroy all enchantments. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible in the turn. So we're going to be able to survive. We're going to be able to hold on to that Druid's Call and that Predatory Urge, so we can keep making Squirrel tokens. So it's a really good card as far as protecting Gitrog and protecting all the different enchantments that we're sticking on there, because you can get a little crazy on there. And whenever somebody blows all the enchantments up, you're always just a little sad because Gitrog goes back to his normal 6/6. But as far as the flavor text goes, so wherever the strong would harm the weak, I will be there. And I just love thinking about us putting all these enchantments on Gitrog, and then a Johnny's just jumping out there to protect this giant frog that, like, obviously doesn't need protection, but for some form of reason, some reason, Johnny felt the necessary to protect Gitrog. So, yep, definitely going in there. And as far as Gandi goes, we're running Yahini, Undying Partisan. Has haste whenever a creature an opponent control dies. Put a +1 counter on Yahini. I think I'm saying that correctly. Forgive me if I'm not. And then sack outlet, sacrifice another creature, gains indestructible until the end of turn. This is just really a nice value creature for the deck. We're running a lot of board wipes. We have Toxic Deluge. Well, that's not going to help against him, but we're running stuff like Damnation. I think we're running Crux, destroy all non-dragon creatures or dragon creatures. It's a way for us to, let's say we need to wipe the board, we want to send Gandi back to the command zone, we can get a bunch of counters on Yahini and then kind of swing in as a nice little utility creatures. And there may be some times where we just truly need to sacrifice Gandi for some reason. Let's say they're going to do something or gain control of Gandi. It's always nice to have a little bit of a sack outlet so we can make sure Gandi goes back to the command zone. We're also running Yahini's Expertise, so all creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn. Then you may cast a card with a converted mana cost 3 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Yeah, it's in here just as another board wipe and a little bit of value. We can definitely, it hits all of our tutor pieces. We were running Grim Tutor in there, Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal. So simply killing the board and then being able to cast a tutor from our hand for free. It's always nice. So excited to try these out. On to the next one, we got Grimgrim. Yes, Grimgrim. Grimgrim is one of those commanders that for a while there I had a hard time getting a good video with him. So he's going to get back on the recording schedule. But we're putting Paradox Engine in there. So whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. So basically it's going to allow us to have just another way for us to untap Grimgrim. As far as this build of Grimgrim, it's not too crazy in here. I do have a heavy kind of black-blue Aristocrats action in there with Diagraph Captain, I think, whenever it's a black-blue lord from Innistrad where you can, whenever a zombie dies, it's kind of like the Blood Artist effect. So, but basically it's a good way for us to, whenever we just cast a spell, which we have a ton of spells in there, we'll be able to untap Grimgrim and take advantage of his swing-in ability. But yeah, Grimgrim is going to get back on the recording schedule. It's just one of those, for some reason, I have a bad experience. Like, if I'll record 3 or 4 videos in a row and I don't get a good video, I'm just like, aha, I banish them to the back burner. I shouldn't do that. So I'll be working on getting some more Grimgrim videos out for you. On to the next one, we have Karametra Hive Queen. We're doing Lifecraster's Bestiary. So at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1, and then whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay green if you do draw a card. This is good for the deck. I'm putting it in all my creature-based decks. That scry at the beginning of your turn is really good, and then turning your having just extra green mana as a mana sink to whenever we cast our creature spells to draw a card. That's good. And also off Karametra, we're pretty much always going to have that green mana because we're looking to cast all of our insects, and then we'll have that green mana to draw a card whenever we cast them. So pretty good card for the deck. Running on to Kresh Primal Warriors. We have Yahini in here. It has haste, and it's just an upgraded sack outlet. We have a few sack outlets in the deck, but just having this nice one, if we blow everything up or certain creatures die, and it really fits on theme with Kresh, what we're going for. And if you're unfamiliar with my Kresh Primal Warriors deck, my Kresh deck is a Primal Surge deck. The only non-creature spell in there, well, let me say the only spell that we technically have is Primal Surge. We do have like one Planeswalker, I think we have Xenagos, and we have artifacts and enchantments. But as far as instant or sorceries go, the only card that we have in there is Primal Surge. So it'll be a nice little addition in there, especially if our opponent starts sacking creatures. And we have, I think we've got Massacre Worm in there too if we kill a bunch of creatures. But But yeah, Crash, it's a lot of fun. I need to play him too. Alright, on to the next one. We've got Cadel and Rayhan, Villainous Wealth Soul Tie. That's the name of the game. We have Winding Constrictor. So if one or more counters will be placed on an artifact or creature you control, that many of those counters plus one are placed on that permanent instead. Then if you would get one or more counters, you get that many counters plus one. We're not running any experience stuff in this Cadel and Rayhan, so the last ability doesn't really matter. But the extra ability, it's a 2/3, so simply just getting one or two counters on there, you've got 3/4 or a 4/5. It turns into a really nice creature that's going to be able to chump block if we're playing against an aggressive deck. And then as far as Rishkar, whenever it enters the battlefield, put a +1 counter on each of up to 2 creatures. Each creature you control with a counter on it has add green to your mana pool. So we're running this is a, if you're not familiar with Cadel and Rayhan, it is a Sultai counters matter deck where we're looking to get down, we have Simic Manipulator, we have the Sage of Hours. I think that's the one where you can take 5 counters off and then take an extra turn. We have Prime Speaker Zagana. We just have a lot of things that where the counters matter. We have Bioshift, Corpse Jack Menace. So simply just, if we have a nice board state with a bunch of creatures and counters on it, getting Rishkar even late game, those creatures will get those counters and they'll be able to tap for green mana immediately without having to tap down Rishkar. So really nice additions to the deck. On to the next one, we have Mimeo Plasm, Heroic Intervention. Once again, permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible into turn. With Mimeo Plasm, we're looking to build, I don't run combo in Mimeo Plasm, I strictly run just fun graveyard reanimator. So usually I'm not going for hexproof right away unless we just absolutely need to close it out. I'm looking to get something, Grave Titan with a bunch of counters on it. I like to have fun playing Mimeo Plasm, and so having Heroic Intervention is going to be really good for the deck because it's going to allow us to get down a quick Mimeo Plasm. If they're going to have some type of not a quick Mimeo Plasm, but it's going to allow us to have a safety net as far as protecting him. And once again, I love the flavor of protecting this big, huge, like it came from the lake monster. Johnny. I don't know, it just makes me laugh. On to the next one, we have Nin, Dr. Feelgood. Nin is my Is It Good Stuff deck. It's not a Storm deck, but we're looking to, like one of our win conditions is basically seeing how big of an epic experiment we can bust out and copy that epic experiment for a I mean, it's just is it experiment? That's all it is. It's there to have fun. But Paradox Engine, really good card because we run a ton of mana rocks in Nin Dr. Feelgood. So it's just a beautiful addition to this deck. Once again, if we hit some quick mana rocks, we get down Paradox Engine, we can start tapping and untapping stuff, and yeah, have some fun. As far as Nin goes, we're not really, the way I have my Nin deck set up, I could go with a different commander, but I really like just kind of getting a real hot shot of cards. The way I tend to play with Nin is if we can get a few, we're running Young Pyromancer in there, so if we get a few tokens out, we can start blasting those tokens to draw cards. But usually we're looking to pop Nin on herself to grab probably around 5 or 7 cards. So pretty fun, little janky, but I enjoy it. What else would you expect from an Izzet deck like that? So it's just straight out of the Izzet Guild and Ravnica. That's pretty much the best way to describe the deck. On to the next one, we have Omnath Party Bears. They're ready to wish you a happy birthday. Just like Carametra Hive Queen, we've got the Life Crafter in here. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1, and then whenever you cast a creature spell, pay green if you do draw cards. So it's kind of a little bit of a way for our bears to get a few extra party favors using that green mana to draw a card, and should have a lot of green mana from Omnath banking it up, so should be getting a good spot on that one. On to the next one, we have Omnath Road Rage, little Moshbridge Troll, and Omnath heading to their work at the command tower. So we're running Rishkar's Expertise. So draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Then you may cast a card with converted mana cost 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. This is really good for Omnath Road Rage, just because we're dealing with a bunch of 5/5 elementals. So for 6 mana, we're going to be drawing 5 cards. Then we get to cast a card with 5 converted mana cost 5 or less, and that hits a lot of our artifacts, a lot of enchantments, maybe our double strike enchantments, or I think we're running I think Soul Blast might be 6. I can't remember. It might be 5. And that might even be the name. But it's like triple red, and basically it sacrifices all your creatures, and it deals damage equal to target player equal to all the power of your creatures. So I can't remember if it's 5 or 6. But, like basically hitting a converted mana cost 5 or less, there's a lot of stuff we're going to hit in Omnath Road Rage, and then simply just drawing cards off of it's a really good card. Once again, we're running Heroic Intervention. We have a lot of enchantments that matter, so like whenever our land enters the battlefield, I think we have the Zendikars Royal. We get a 3/3 Elemental. We're running Goblin Bombardment. A lot of stuff that we have a lot of like utility enchantments that matter a lot to us being able to win as soon as it gets down, or a few turns after that. So simply being able to give all of our elementals indestructible and hexproof, it's a really good card. So yeah, solid card. Definitely try out Heroic Intervention. I think this Heroic Intervention might be the highest card that's going into a lot of my commander decks. On to the next one with Sequar, Deathkeeper. Once again, we got Yahini in here. It's just an upgraded sack outlet. That's kind of all we're going for. And then my build of Sequar, it's pretty straightforward. It's just maybe a little bit heavier on the graveyard interactions. But yeah, it's nothing too fancy here. Just trying to get it's a good sack outlet for the deck. On to the next one, we have and the last one, we have Yidris Thunderstorm. So we've got all the expertise cards in here. I opted not to put Kari Zevs in there just because... I don't know. We could have gained control of target creature and then cast something in our hand, but we need Yidris to attack. And it's kind of like we're not going to be able to take advantage of it. All this stuff is stuff that we're going to cast on the second main phase. And it's all really good as far as our storming action with Yidris. So we'll start with Baral's expertise. Return up to 3 target artifacts and or creatures to their owner's hand. And then you may cast a converted mana cost 4 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Really good card. We can use it in our first main phase to kind of bounce some stuff up to clear the board for Yidris. Let's say we have the Kamigawa enchantment, the green 2 colorless, that you can untap your lands whenever your creature attacks or deals damage. So let's say we cast that in our first main phase. We're going to be able to untap our lands either through that enchantment or Sword of... it's the black-white sword where you get to untap your lands and they discard a card. So that's going to allow us to kind of clear the board up, get in, and then we'll have more mana for the next turn. We're also running Rishkar's expertise, so draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a card with a converted mana cost 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Great way for us to refuel our hand, and then 5 hits a lot of stuff in our deck. It hits the Storm deck. I tried to record a video with Yidris earlier, but I ended up having to scrap the video. But I got to cast Rishkar's expertise and cast a Tendrils of Agony off the cast a spell for free ability. So that was really cool, man. It's definitely, these expertise cards are great for the deck. They're also running Yahini's expertise. So all creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn, which Yidris is going to dodge. And then you may cast a card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your hand. And once again, that converted mana cost 3 or less is going to hit a lot of our tutors. It's going to hit our Cabal rituals, our what is it? Drawing a blank. Dark Ritual? Yeah, Dark Ritual. But, converting mana cost, yeah, but basically it hits a lot of our utility spells and just getting that free extra cascade off casting that card, that may be enough to kind of push us in to get that Storm win. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure... Yeah, that's it. That's it for the presentation, or the card set update. I enjoy making these videos, and I like the format that I'm doing on this one. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.